Welcome to Live Talks, the Dentsply Sirona Implants webcast directly from the EAO Congress in Vienna. Today, for the first time ever, we will broadcast from Dentsply Sirona Implants Corporate Forum Inspiration Talks. Inspiration Talk is an interactive lecture forum arranged by Dentsply Sirona Implants at congresses all over the world. Here, experienced and well-renowned lecturers share their knowledge and inspire the audience. The overall theme for the Inspiration Talks here at the EAO is Dreams of the Future, addressing how dental professionals can use the latest technology and innovations to achieve the best results for the patient. My name is Mia Jensen. I am Senior Manager in Clinical Affairs at Dentsply Sirona Implants, and I'm your host on Live Talks today. This is the fourth Live Talks from the EAO, and the focus is on Marko Ddd's No Screw, No Glue, the prosthodontist's dream comes true. He will talk about the conometric concept and Accuris, which is an innovative solution for friction-retained implant crowns. The lecture will be followed by a discussion with scientific moderator Dr. Lyndon Cooper, Associate Dean for Research and Head of the Department of Oral Biology at the University of Illinois School of Dentistry in Chicago. He will do this together with Dentsply Sirona Implants corporate moderator, Dr. Charlotte Almgren. So let's meet with Marko Ddd and learn more about the inventor behind the conometric concept. Talks, Dr. Marko Ddd. I'm very happy to have you here and to have the chance to learn more about the conometric concept and Accuris.
Thank you, Mia.
I have heard you describe the concept with the sentence, no screw, no glue, the prosthodontist's dream comes true. What do you mean by that?
Well, I really think that the dream of every prosthodontist is to have a crown on implant that has no holes for the screw, and on the other side has not the risk that the cement inevitably bring together. So to have a crown that has no screw and no cement, and it's still a fixed restoration, this is really a dream that comes true. That's why I'm saying no screw, no glue.
Well, it sounds like a real game changer, I think, comparing with traditional concepts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that for many years, there has been only two ways to make a fixed restoration on implant, screw retained and cemented. Every concept has pros and cons. And from today, there is a third one. I may say a better one. Let's see. For me, is the best one, of course. And the third one is conometric. The commercial name is Accuris, but it's conometric. So from today, everybody has to deal with this. Conometric is the new way to make a fixed implant support restoration.
Tell me, how did you get started with the conometric concept?
Well, you know, everything I have developed or, let's say, invented in these years just start from the daily clinical work. And always been involved in immediate loading. You know, immediate loading has been always done with screw retain restoration. And honestly, I was really disappointed every time my lab technician was delivering restoration that was just a bunch of holes. And so one day I say to Gianluca, that is my lab technician and co-inventor of the technique, I told him, look, Gianluca, I have enough of this. Restoration that look like Swiss cheese. Okay, let's develop something new. This is how the whole thing started and began.
Very interesting. And I know that you have worked closely together with Dentsply Sirona implant engineers in order to develop a final product that can be reproducible. Here in Vienna, we met with Johan Phalke, who's an engineer and a senior technical project manager in the research and development area of Dentsply Sirona implants. So let's listen to Johan telling us about the development that led to the final product.
The development has been ongoing since 2015. There's been a great number of engineers involved in the project, and one of the major challenges has been to find the exact balance between retention and the ability to remove the crown. We have in theory it's very easy, but in practice it's been very difficult to find the exact balance. So we have done different designs, and we have done thousands and thousands of tests over and over again just to find exact right balance. We have two cones with a press fit in between, and there is also an index system which makes it impossible to rotate it, and also we have an anti-tilt function, very useful in the anterior area. And the cone makes it possible. That's where we make the retention, so it's impossible to lose the crown. Here at the EAO we have three posters. The first one is called Removal Force of Econometric Caps and Abutments. The second one is Removal Force and Econometric Caps and Abutments under Dynamic Loads. And the last one is called Econometric Retention and Dynamic Loading over time. It's important to activate the retention. In order to do that, you just use this fixation tool which we have developed, and just by pressing it down, you will activate the impulse, and that impulse makes it secure, so it won't fall off from the patient. Let me show you how it works. So what we have here is the abutment. It's connected to the implant, and we have the crown with the final cap inside, and then I just place it on top like this. And it's very important to find the index, and there's actually three possible places, but you need to find the exact position like that. And then now it's time to activate the retention. And I do it like this. That's it. Now it's activated, and it's not possible to remove it. When you remove it, you use a removal tool, and this is just something you find on the market, and you just put it on like that, take a grip around it, and turn it around like that. And now it's loose, as you can see, but again, you can put it back. Just find the indexing, and it's just one click, and you're done.
Thanks, Johan, for sharing on the background how Accuris was developed and tested, and for showing us how easy it is. One click and you were done. So, Marco, you have clinical experience with Accuris. Is it really this easy?
Well, it is really tremendously easy. Okay, of course, dentistry is not easy. So you have to make a nice crown, a nice emergent profile, nice contact, but once you have delivered a nice crown, to engage econometric friction is a second, and you are done. So the dentist will find this amazing, as it is in the reality.
And from your perspective as a clinician, what is most beneficial for you and your patient with the econometric concept and Accuris?
Well, of course, I'm the inventor, and I have been using this for quite some time. So I tell you, it is really amazing how many advantages this concept really has. Let's say precision combined with retrievability, just to mention a couple of them. Because we are working on a cone concept, our crown are virtually gap-free. So we have delivered the most precise crown ever. And this means that you can put a margin everywhere, for example, and because there is no cement. So this is just fantastic. And retrievability. Anytime you need to take a crown, or in the future a bridge out, it's not that easy with the cemented, and also screw retain is a lot of work. But in this case, it's a matter of seconds. In 2 seconds, the crown or the bridge is in your hands. So anytime.
So now we know more about the econometric concept and Accuris. Let's move over to Inspiration Talks and listen to the live presentation of Dr. Marko Ddd and the discussion with the moderators, Lyndon Cooper and Charlotte Almgren. Ddd.
Dr. Marko Ddd is working towards a future where listening, creativity, and individually tailored solutions are all hallmarks of the dental profession. Values he implements on a daily basis at his own private practice in Bologna, Italy. A distinguished oral surgeon, Marko is also an avid innovator and researcher. He has published over 130 papers, and every day he tries to understand the individual needs of his patients and how to care for them in the best way possible. He dreams of a dental industry where the fruit of all this research, the high-quality solutions themselves, can be supplied at a reasonable price so as many people as possible can access the care they deserve. His secret to life is simply love. Bring it to every facet of your life and watch what happens. Please welcome on stage Marko Ddd.
So hello everybody, and okay, there you go. Okay, so I'm Marko Ddd. Of course, I work in my beautiful city, Bologna, in my beautiful clinic. Today is a very memorable day. October 12, 2018, mark your calendar. Forget the discovery of America. Today is the beginning of a new era, is the econometric era, okay? So, for those of you who are still doing screw retain or cemented crown, I have a news for you. Those times are over. From now on, is econometric era. You are lucky to be here today because you witnessed to this. Okay. So, but let me, in the first part of this lecture, very simply run you through how we came to this concept, because it takes quite some time, like everything. And econometric is a new way to make fixed implant support restoration without screw and cement, using prefabricated components. It's like Columbus, that discovered America today, is a very simple idea, okay? Like the Columbus egg. It's just a little cap that engage another abutment, just with friction, and make a crown that has an outstanding precision, unparalleled until today. Why the dentist need this? Well, because everybody who has ever delivered a cemented or screw-retained crown knows that both techniques has limits. Cement, everybody knows that sometimes you get some cement undetected, even when you don't suspect it, and this is a nightmare sometimes. And screw-retain, well, who may like restoration that are riddled with holes? We know that sometimes this is a problem, is a weak part and a fracture, whatever it is, static and so on. What is the story behind? Well, I've been always involved in immediate loading restoration, and I have a fantastic coworker, my lab technician, that is Gianluca. And one day, 12 years ago, we were in the lab, and he was showing me the result of a restoration where he was just drilling through the occlusal table. And I told him, look, Gianluca, I hate this. This kind of approach really sucks, and I don't want to see holes anymore. Okay, so from now on, you're going to develop something, and this is exactly what we did. So we look at what was already existing, the Syncon concept that is designed to make fixed detachable restoration And we thought, how can we make in a way that is fixed, non-detachable by the patient, only by the dentist? Well, we look at the conical retention in any prosthodontic book, and we just say that, find out that conical retention is given by these three parameters. If we want to increase it so that the restoration becomes fixed, we just have to decrease the conical angle, increase the friction coefficient, changing material from gold to titanium, and increase the insertion force, adding some impact forces. And we developed some prototypes, and back in 2006, we did our first case. So that is the first immediate loading fixed restoration without any holes, any cement. And that looked to us a miracle. And this was, again, long ago. It was very well received by the patient, and 12 years, 15 years later, is still around. So finally, Dentsply liked the concept, and so we convinced the company, of course, to produce this. So we start with the Syncon 5-degree abutment that was developed already, you see, 2009, 2010. And with this abutment, we did our first research. It was published in 2012. The study was done in 2009. It took 3 years to the journal to accept, because they think that it was rubbish and that they want to publish, of course, because it was new stuff. And after this, we developed the same concept on the standard abutment, and that was the beginning of a tsunami that, we make so many cases, and we involve a lot of people, including probably some people that is here. So how does this work? So imagine that you are in your office. On your chair, you have a patient. And here's a temporary. Now you take the temporary out. There is nothing to clean. There is no cement. And in a second, the temporary is in your hands. Now you take the impression, analog, digital, this is up to you, whatever it is. Now you have your impression. And after you take the impression, you put the temporary back in position. With a wood stick, you would tap actually on the abutment. And in what? In 4 seconds, it's finished. The patient can go home. And the next appointment, you're ready with the final restoration with the same chronometric cap embedded into the bridge, and see how you fixed it, and it's finished. It's finished. So count the time you are saving, multiply by the number of patients, you go home 2 hours earlier, okay? That is, of course, something that we have been working on a lot of time. What clinical experience do I have? Well, we have been doing tons of cases, and very quickly, because of course this is the old chronometric concept. Then we want to show you what we have developed today. Full arches. Well, we have always been doing full arches when it's necessary. So in the upper jaw here, you see for Syncon, copying, and of course, the way I like to make a framework. And as soon as you've done the framework, I reline the denture or whatever you have prepared on the top of this, and I finish, and I put it back in position, and that's the way you engage. 1, 2, 3, 4, finish, okay? And the patient can go home, and this restoration is fixed, cannot be removed by the patient whatsoever, only by the dentist when it's necessary. And this is an hybrid restoration. You want to make a socket fit. Here you can make a socket fit because you have still all the dimension available. So again, my favorite way to make a framework with Weldman, and that socket fit restoration with just 4 abutment, very precise, go in position, just with some light tapping. And this, again, is another way to make a full arch. Well, those are temporary, durable, up to you. If the patient is wealthy and want to replace with some more pricey and more durable restoration is always most welcome to do that. So this is the soft tissue, that how they look like, because with conometric gap-free restoration, you have fantastic tissue all the time. Only have to prepare another restoration that can be monolithic zirconia with Emax, individual teeth. You know, there is no limit. If you want to spend the money, it's not difficult, okay? But then you put some conometric caps in the mouth, cement the framework on the cap, take everything out, wipe the cement with a probe in a second, and put it back and tap again to fix this. And the same in the lower. Now it was a hybrid. This is a socket fit. That is not the topic of today. About hygiene. Well, some dentists like to remove restoration for hygiene. Well, let me tell you that to remove a screw retain restoration is a nightmare, okay? And it's a lot of work. Everybody who has ever done knows that it's time-consuming, at least. So let's see, on one side, a patient that has conometric full arch and that are removed in a handful of seconds, while on the other side, you see a poor guy that has 2 screw retain full arch bridge. And although I think I'm quick, but everybody knows that this required quite some time. 18 minutes versus 38 seconds. And then you do what? Hygiene, clean the teeth, go back on the patient, and again, it's a lot of time, okay? I'm not saying that you would even replace the screw, but, you know, put it back to restoration, put the screw, put the pallet, put the filling, the composite. Oh, doctor is a little bit high here, can you ground a little bit? You know how it is, okay? And it takes, again, a lot of time. Why? On the other side here, again, in less than a minute, the work is done. And you see, this guy is still going on, and it's more than half an hour, okay? So, let's say that as uncountable advantage from hygiene and maintenance point of view. Partials. Well, there are many ways to do bridges. The analog approach, like to heal the implant, you put a standard abutment, take an impression, send to the lab, ask them to prepare a monolithic bridge with the cap, passivate the cap in the mouth, remove it, wipe the cement, put the bridge back again, tap with your wood stick. Today we have a special instrument to do that, and this is finished. And you are somehow keen to make a digital work because you have one of those chairside millers. There you go. Here you have your healed implant, and we don't have scan abutment yet. Okay, so what we do, well, we put the same conometric cap that we have sandblasted, so you can read it with the camera, and you make your bridge, whatever material you want to use. It's not that much important that you read the shoulder because the precision will be given by the cap and will be the most precise restoration in the world. Okay, so put the cap, cement it, finish, and again back. So that's the analog, that's the digital, and the last one is the durable that, you know, is my favorite somehow. So again, scan it, prepare a hybrid ceramic bridge that is the material that I like to work more. And on the other side, we prepare the framework because hybrid ceramic has not much flexural resistance, so we make a framework. And again, there are many ways to make the frameworks. This is the framework that I prepared with my favorite approach in 20 seconds, 20 cents for 20 millimeters of titanium and a life-lasting framework. On the top of this, reline your hybrid ceramic shell, finish this, and put it back. That's another way to make an extremely affordable bridge that is very precise and very durable. Single, well, single crown we've also been doing for quite some time, and the approach is the same. Standard abutment, a cap. The cap was not designed for single at the beginning, so we have to make some modification. Meanwhile, Dentsply was developing Accuris, of course. At that time, we didn't have Accuris, so we would make a restoration in this way and put it back in the mouth, load, wait for healing, always fantastic tissue. That is because load combined with precision is what makes the difference. And a ceramic crown with the same cap, again in position, tap and engage exactly in the same way. You don't like immediate loading and you have your Celtra Duo, whatever you want to make it one of those nice crowns, you have a healed implant, that's the best approach. Put in abutment, scan this, go in the machine, mill your Celtra Duo, glue a chronometric cap, go in the mouth, and tap the molar. You need to take it back. Take one of those pliers with plastic tip. In 2 seconds, you have removed the crown. And that is really, really a fascinating approach. So basically, this is the way so far. Do we have literature? Yes, I published, like always, tons of articles. You can find some of my literature on chronometric. It's all in PubMed, so you just have to put Degidi and chronometric. So I think this is what it is for now. And now I think my boss is coming on the podium.
You've given us a lot of information. We're not done with this discussion yet. There's a lot more to come. So you come upon this idea in 2006, and you stop gluing, and you stop screwing, and you start banging, right?
Yeah, right.
What was the patient's first response to this? Knock, knock, knock.
When I'm hammering on
Yeah, yeah.
Well, not every patient respond the same way because, some patients may be sensitive to tapping. But I would say that if you say to the patient something like, what, now I'm going to give a little tap, don't be afraid, no one complain, okay? But you just start tapping without advising, they will say, oh, doctor.
But most patients, by the time they get to needing an implant, have had a crown, and they know that you cement crowns. So what is the patient's response to the idea that I've made something that no longer needs cement? What do they say about that? Do they worry that the next meal they have, they'll get a gift?
Well, I think the patient are very happy to be part of something new because they are informed that it's a new procedure. And they are just happy. And if you explain them that this is go together with less chance to have complication, or is that much easier to fix whenever you have a problem, they will be more than happy. So really, the patients are very well receiving this, very well.
Very good.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the process. I've not done this. I will soon, as you well know, and we're going to start this trial, right? What do you need to tell me to prevent some of the problems that or challenges that you arranged or found as you developed this technique?
We have to understand how chronometric retention works. This is about friction. This is about friction. And when do you achieve the friction? In the very last part of the engagement of the crown on the abutment. So we have to understand, especially on single restoration, okay, where you have just one abutment, that either the restoration is completely seated, or in that case you have fantastic retention, or either you have no retention at all. So it's not like cemented. You have some gap, it's late, I have to go to dinner, put some more cement, put the crown, and go home. Or screw retain, you know what, you tie the screw until the crown
Sure,
goes down. You have a little gap. I know, I understand. I will fix next time. With conometric, there is no way. The crown has to be seated. So the only advice I give to you, check that the restoration is completely seated, because otherwise the crown will simply drop before the patient goes to pay to the to the bureau. So it's very easy for you. How do you do that? I mean, you just have to make a crown that is, you have to check the contact point and the pressure on the soft tissue, and the crown has to be completely engaged. Once the crown is engaged, you grab it with your finger, you are not able to take it out. No way.
So we're getting down in the weeds here a little bit. But let's take, for instance, the molar restoration. You showed a very nice one. When do I check the occlusion? Mm-hmm. Only after I've hammered it into place, or and how do we manage this?
Well, you have to have some kind of try-in cap that has less retention. Okay, so with you have to have a dedicated cap for the lab. You put the crown in position. You have a little bit less retention. Then you check whatever you check when you normally make a crown: cemented screw retain, contact point, occlusion, color, shade, emergence.
Okay, it's just careful work like we always do.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm going to let you get right back to your work here in just one more minute. Is there anything that you would tell the audience about getting started? Should they start with a 4-implant full arch case, or should they start with a quadrant bridge, or should they start with a single tooth? What would be your suggestion with your experience?
Okay, someone is happy. I think they should start normally with a single crown or small bridge, so they develop a little bit of confidence with the concept. The concept is not difficult. You don't have to go through a lot of training. It's, I would say, 20 minutes of training with someone that has some knowledge, okay, and that's it.
So you've heard what he's done in the past, and I'm going to get off stage so you can show people what you've been doing recently, okay?
Okay, thank you, Linda. So now we came to accuracy, and that is what accurate is. So what's the difference? We have an index. We haven't had an index so far, because the cap had been designed originally for multiples, and for multiple index was a problem, not a benefit. But for single, we definitely need to have an index, because otherwise, sometimes it might even happen in the past that the crown could be disconnected in some lateral forces in some area. So why we definitely need an index? So Dentsply has provided me with a task force, and you see here some of them, Bent, Johan, Pia, and many other that I cannot mention now. And we met many times in 2 or 3 years. So it took quite some time to develop what you have seen today in the booth. That is basically everything has been redesigned. Not only the patrix, but also the matrix and the patrix, okay? And so now we have this new components, completely new components, and you don't have to do the dirty work. I was doing some blasting, doing the undercuts, cutting. Now everything is prepared in advance, so now you are you are a lord. You know, you can have all this beautiful stuff already prepared. Plastic for the temporary, titanium nitrate for the final, a specific device to get the engagement, delivering the exactly amount of force to have the complete sitting of the crown. Okay, because someone asked me, how much force do I have to deliver? And the little woman can deliver a little force. And then I have some big Russian with big muscle, they are kicking, and you know what happens. Okay, so now we have a dedicated instrument. So let's see a young man that has a problem, an aesthetic problem, high smile line. What's the best way to treat a case like this? You know, we are EAO, there are very different approach. My approach is always the same. I put an ankylose immediate implant, and I load this with some chronometric restoration, if it's possible, and I make my temporary. And then I say, go home and don't eat raw food for quite a couple of weeks. And then just wait a little bit, and that's the healing. 6 months later. 6 months later, this is what we have. A nice healing. You haven't seen any connective graft, whatever, okay? Just load, ankylose, load, and the chamber concept, okay? And then this patient was sent home. It's not a wealthy patient, so he's keeping the temporary. Not able to change the crown. He's getting married, then he gets 1 son, 2 sons, 3 sons. And 3 years later, I saw him and I say, look, now this temporary is a little bit yellow. How about making a new crown? So I took it out and I say, well, that's a good opportunity. Now let's replace the abutment, the old chronometric, with the new Accuris abutment. So there's the Accuris abutment. And again, the surrounding, of course, tissue are very important. Now you take the impression with the dedicated impression copying, and you make the model, and you make the crown, and again you tap the crown with the wood stick or with a specific instrument that will be available very soon. So finally now we have a different X-ray. So see how yellowish. I just show you a little video again of the same case so that you memorize exactly the step. Again, so you see how long does it take to remove the crown? 2 seconds. And now you put the copying, impression copying, you take your impression, analog in this case, and you put a temporary back, tap it, and it can leave. Memorize how much time you are saving in your daily routine. Now the lab has this lab cap, this is the chronometric lab cap, silver, not gold, has less retention, so you can work on that. When everything is finally ready, you will be given a ceramic crown with the titanium nitride cap already glued into the crown, so you just have to put the crown and tap, and it can go. If you are not an immediate loading guy, or if there is no need to do immediate loading, like in the first molar, see a very simple case. That's the woman. She is missing a couple of molars. I put implant sometimes ago, and then some months later, we are ready for Accuris. So let's put an Accuris abutment. And I like to work at abutment level. You can work at implant level. There are different ways. You can do any kind of approach, okay? So take this impression, once again, it's analog, and put this healing cap. We have designed very nice healing cap. Just push, they click, and they, again, is finished. So it's very comfortable for the patient and for the dentist. Now, there's the abutment. Again, the lab will make the model, and that is the model that the lab has. On this model, the lab technician will put a chronometric lab cap that is less retention, will wax it, and will go through whatever procedure you decide to do for this particular crown. And when you can mill it, you can press it, you know, every approach. And then that is lab cap, final cap. This cap is cemented by the lab on the model, and that is what you are given. Then depending on how you are tuned with your lab technician, you can get already the final crown, or you can get a temporary biscuit try-in where you try the color, the shade, the occlusion, whatever you need to try. So the day of the delivery, remove the plastic cap, again in a second. This is what is ready for you. Crown is okay, put it down, and feel the index that is engaging. It's very easy. You just have to develop some chromatic perception in your finger. Okay, feel the feeling and tap. So you engage, you activate the chronometry, and it's done. And that's the crown in position. If you need to remove, you just grab and take it out. See, same patient, maxilla, one, again, ankylose, and some abutment. Always very nice tissue with ankylose. This is not a new story. The accurate abutment, and again, the impression copying, and the healing abutment. And this is everything for the first appointment. If you are one of those guys who want to do everything in one step, the patient can wait, and you can go upstairs, you can mill your crown, going up. It's just the way you prefer to work, okay? We save more, we are very much looking at the time. So in this appointment of 20 minutes, 2 appointments of 20 minutes for us is better than 3 hours in the office. Whatever you prefer to do, let's say that is the model, and again on the model, you wax up the crown, and the lab will cement it and give it this particular crown. Okay, so it's a very interesting crown. Think about what you are doing until today, and look at this. You have now just an index. You will there's no way you can miss it, of course. And then you get just going down, activate it, and that is finished. So how about immediate loading? Let me show you a video. This is a patient that has a couple of compromised teeth. And for us now, Accuris is launched for single restoration. And here you're going to see 2 implants. But yes, obviously, when they will be finally restored, I will make 2 single crowns. Okay? But this is not finished yet. So you can just see the procedure of an immediate loading. So place the implant the way they should be placed. These are ankylose, so they have to be placed deep into the bone, so to create the chamber concept. Now, see the abutment that we made. This is the A abutment, one piece, 4.5 millimeter in height. You torque them to 25 Newton. Now they are one piece with the implant. The next level is the chronometric cap. It is really as easy as it is. Okay, you just have to find the index. You see that we make a little grooves on the cap, so you can grab this with a specific driver and find the position in 3 seconds, very easily, very quickly. And then you see relining this on the top of the plastic coping, and then do some basic lab work that, depending how much time you're going to involve, the better will be the result. Okay? And see, that's the case that we did. And another case is a single. We have a compromised tooth that, unfortunately, we don't think we can save it anymore. So we decide, together with the patient, to extract the tooth and place an implant immediately, because I think that that's the best way to go. So after removing the carrier and delivering the accurate abutment, you can select between different gingival height, but just one prosthetic height. Okay, there are no longer 2 prosthetic, just one. And then, because it's temporary, then you can use the plastic coping. Plastic coping cannot stay in the mouth forever. Okay, so let's say up to 6 months is okay. So if you want to make one of those durable, temporary that stay in the mouth for many years, it's better if you use the titanium nitrate coping. But of course, it's a little bit more pricey, so it's up to you. So again, now the crown is finished, and again, just a little tap, and the work again is done. and the crown is engaged, and it will not drop ever, okay, unless you need to do that. So in conclusion, I like to show you again the video of the chamber that I have done 10 years ago. I have upgraded this a little bit to the new concept. So let's finish with this video.
Marco, thank you.
Thank you, pleasure.
Remarkable job.
Thank you.
Remarkable job.
Do our best.
So, explain very briefly the differences between conometric and accurate abutments.
Oh, the old and the new. Well, the difference is in the index. We add no index with all the copying, again, because they've been designed for multiple. So I think today all implantology and prosthetic is indexed somehow. Everybody thinks index is better. It's not necessarily the case, okay? But for single crown, you have to have an index, at least in the aesthetic zone, okay? Because index is giving you the position and also protecting against any kind of dislodging. So that is the difference.
Next question. And I'm sure people are interested, and I know that Mark is interested in hearing this. Where would you ideally place the margin of the conometric crown relative to the implant abutment interface?
Well, the margin of a conometric crown can be placed anywhere. Can be placed anywhere because we are gap-free.
But
the margin.
The manufactured margin and the manufactured abutment, you have several heights, right? What's your ideal placement? It could be very deep.
Well, this concept is now launched with Ankylus, but very soon, in a few months, will be introduced for Astra and Xive as well. Okay, so depending from the implant geometry and philosophy, the implant can be placed flush with the bone, above the bone, below the bone. So we have 3 different implants, and I think there are 3 different philosophy. So Ankylus is deep into the bone. So the margin necessarily are a little bit deeper, okay? And I think this is not a question that you ask me, but I can give you a different answer because I think it's interesting. So, because we can place the margin whenever we want, because we have no gap. You can place the margin even into the sinus, nothing happens. Okay, this is important, into the bone. The deeper you place the margin, the better the margin profile. So you make a crown that looks like a tooth, okay? Not that crown that you know, look like an umbrella or a mushroom, okay? That is nice. That's the magic of the concept.
I would say that the margin in the sinus is not in our manuals, but...
Okay, I think it's a little bit of label, but you know.
He gets excited. He gets very excited. Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, we have one here. Any risk that the crown will end up in infraocclusion due to chewing and bite force?
Well, you have your to bite force. No, that's not possible. We have a stop in the coronal part of the abutment. Okay, so there's no way the crown can be over-seated. Okay.
Any comments from you, Lyndon?
No, I'm just always, you know, you look at this work and you know Marco's just a phenomenal clinician. So is this going to be easier for the average clinician?
This is really as easy as it's been maybe perceived today, okay? And with a little limitation that is this one. Dentistry is not easy.
We know.
Okay? That's the problem. Not conometic is a way to make difficult cases less difficult, more easy, okay? This is all what I'm striving to deliver, okay?
And related to that, I did ask you earlier today, I'm worried about the mesial-distal orientation of the implant in the bounded dentulous space. If that implant is not parallel with the adjacent tooth interproximal surfaces, how would one ever seat the crown on a stock abutment?
Well, of course, this is an index, because this is an index abutment with a copying that again is an index. The 2 index has to match, so there has to be a path in that. Okay, so I think that even if you are both left-handed, if you are placing an implant in between two teeth, you will somehow put the implant somewhere in between of that, and if the carrier and the driver are able to go through the 2 teeth, then the index will also be able to be perceived and to be seated. So, because it's smaller.
And I don't know if you'd agree with me, but Mark had mentioned that he's spending the majority of time doing guided surgeries. Would you agree that Accurus is really well suited to people that want to work in a guided surgery environment?
Absolutely, especially the more we will go with multiple. That will make everything easy. So the synergy with guide surgeon is extremely important, extremely important.
Well, I think we're running out of time here for questions.
And we are, Marco. It's been a pleasure having you here, better than Columbus, I would say. So a big thank you for your contribution.
Thank you
Give
very
him a
much.
hand,
Okay.
big hand.
So welcome back to Dentsply Sirona Implants live talks here in Vienna. And thanks to Marko Ddd for a very interesting presentation, and to the moderators Lyndon Cooper and Charlotte Almgren for their work. We truly hope that you have enjoyed the live talk sessions here on Dentsply Sirona Implants. We hope that you will continue to follow us in social media. Thank you for watching, and auf Wiedersehen from Vienna.